Okay, you want to call regular meeting to order of the Camarillo Planning Commission on this day, Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. If the secretary can call the roll.
Commissioner Talmadge. Present. Commissioner Edsel.
Here.
Commissioner Vandermeulen.
Here.
And Chair Espinoza.
Here. Okay, moving on to our consent item, or actually, stand by. If I can have Commissioner Edsel lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, please stand. Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we have just one single item on consent, which is minutes of our last meeting of May 3rd. If there's no questions or changes, if I can have a motion for approval of the consent item.
So move.
A second.
Moved by Commissioner Talmadge, seconded by Vice Chair Vandermeulen. If you can please vote. Okay, I
I
think
abstained, yeah. I wasn't here.
we have a unanimous with a slow acting light indicator there.
I believe Commissioner Edsel abstained because he wasn't at the last meeting.
I see. So we have Commissioner approval, 3, and Commissioner Edsel abstaining, being absent from the meeting of May 3rd. Thank you for that. Now is the public comment period for anything that's not on the agenda. Any member of the public that is here who may want to address the Planning Commission on any agenda item. Do we have any cards? No speaker cards? And seeing no one coming forward, we'll go ahead and close the public comment period. Okay, moving on to item B, public hearings. This will be the public hearing on CUP 413 AT&T Mobility. This is to adopt the resolution approving CUP 413. If staff can provide a report.
Yes, thank you, Chair Espinoza. The staff presentation will be made tonight by our Associate Planner, Mike Cepek.
Good afternoon, Chair Espinoza. Good afternoon, all the other commissioners. Welcome to my presentation on CUP 413 on the installation of a new stealth wireless facility.
Need this mic.
Oh, sorry. An application was made by Jerry Ambrose of the Yukon Group for a conditional use permit to install a new stealth wireless facility and associated with it increase in height at the Camarillo Outlets Commercial Plan Development Zone. The project, outlined here in red, will be located atop of an existing commercial retail building at 690 Ventura Boulevard, fronting the internal parking lot and backing onto Camarillo Center Drive. The existing location is currently a Banana Republic outlet store, shown here as seen from the internal parking lot looking due east. The subject site is a 20,400 square foot retail building approved as part of a larger commercial development permit. Additionally, the site benefits from an existing conditional use permit for the building to increase in size from 35 to 43 feet. The proposed wireless communication facility will comprise of 16 panel antennas arranged in 4 arrays and 48 remote radio units to be located in the increased in height cupola, as well as equipment cabinets and a power backup battery to be located on the existing roof area. The cabinets will be located over here with the antennas and the antenna array and the battery backups over here. The image on the right shows the general site plan with Ventura Boulevard over here, and Camarillo Center Drive over here. The slide on the left shows a close-up of the building with the proposed site outlined in red. Visible internally are the 4 antenna arrays and the roof-mounted equipment. The antennas and the remote radio unit would be entirely concealed in the proposed new cupola, with the remainder of the equipment located on the main roof level, being screened by the existing 10-foot parapet. The shown on the slide roof plan illustrate the proposed array and radio units contained inside the cupola. As previously outlined, the site is located in the CPD zone. The nearest residential zone is some 690 feet due east, outlined here in green, with LM and M1 zones located 183 and 337 feet due south, respectively. LM being here, M1 being here. Finally, the site is bookended by, to the north by the located some 550 feet away 101 freeway. The existing building benefits from 2 mirror image cupolas. Similar architectural features can be seen within this development, including across the existing internal parking lot. The applicant proposes a 10-foot increase in the height of the cupola facing the parking lot. The proposed facility has been subject to an architectural review, incorporates elements such as architectural moldings, trims, faux windows, and matching clay roof tile material. It is considered that the proposed design is in line with the general plan and the Heritage Zone design guidelines. The attached image on the left shows the proposed cupola how the proposed cupola would look from the internal parking lot. The image on the right shows the cupola appearing from Camarillo Center Drive, with the image in the middle showing the site as it appears now, looking from the internal parking lot. The project objective is to increase the cellular signal coverage in the area. The attached graphic shows the current signal coverage, illustrating a gap in between the 2 existing facilities, and the extent to which the gap would be filled should the new facility be permitted. The project has been reviewed against and found to comply with all relevant sections of CEQA. It is determined that the project is exempt from CEQA based on a Class 3 exemption. The staff recommend that the application be approved and to recommend, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. Finally, it is noted that attached condition number 16 contains a minor clerical error where instead of CPD 197, CPD 171 will be inserted. This concludes the staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. I'd like to open up to questions from commissioners at this time.
Yes, I have a couple questions.
Commissioner
On the
Count.
graphic that you showed the coverage of that was it. Does that include the new wireless facility at Arneal and Daly?
This is the most up-to-date graphic based on the projected signal as provided by the applicant.
Okay, so this does reflect the recently approved addition of a wireless facility in that location. Is that correct?
I think perhaps the applicant could weigh in on that.
Commissioner, in this case, this does not include that. It is outside of the scope of this, so that one is too far outside of this map for us to actually be able to see.
Well, it's right on the edge anyway.
Yeah, it would be just off the map on the right.
Okay.
And so the site that you're seeing on the right is actually the water tower in Old Town?
Yeah, the beer can.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Next question has to do with the addition of the cupola on top. Is there any issue with structural integrity? Was the original cupola designed to take the weight of a second story, if you may, on top of it?
The new cupola will be engineered in such a way.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, the new cupola will be engineered in such a way that it will meet all relevant sections of the building code and will be able to, the building will be able to support its weight.
Okay. And I know it came up in our previous architectural committee meeting, but I wonder if you could offer a few comments for the rest of the commission regarding materials to be used, colors and things like that.
Absolutely. The materials proposed will match the existing materials on the building. The panels, the structural panels, are reinforced fiberglass panels. The exterior of them will match the existing building. There will be faux windows with louvers and mesh. These will be in colors, again, to match the trim of the building. The top of the existing cupola will be removed to facilitate for the additional height, with the new roof on the new cupola also matching in materials. So the tile is going to match exactly that of the existing building. It's going to be, I believe, clay, to appear as if it was designed in such a way from day one.
Okay. I think that's it for now, for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions on this.
Okay, any questions?
Well, I don't know if my one question is for this or for the developer, but was any thought given to putting it on the cupola in the back of the building rather than the front of the building?
The applicant explored several locations. This one was preferred because it's less intrusive on the street scene as seen from the outside. It's facing the interior of the parking lot, which makes it less intrusive from the outside. And it also gives a nice tower element to the main entrance of the Banana Republic outlet.
Yeah, because when I looked at it and drove around the parking lot, currently, the highest tower is in the middle, and then they go down from there. So there's symmetry all the way around, from the highest tower down to the others. With this one then coming in so high on the end, it changes that whole symmetry as you're driving around inside the development. To me, if it were on the back side of that building, on Commons Drive or whatever it is.
Camarillo Common Drive.
It wouldn't be as noticeable from inside the parking lot and when you're shopping and driving around there. It would almost be, you wouldn't see it really at all.
So the intent here was to place it on the interior of the parking lot so that it's less experienced by people driving past, which the volume of traffic on that road as well as the 101 freeway would be higher than that of the interior parking.
Well, but if it were on the back side of this building, it would be further than further away from the 101, further away from Ventura Boulevard. So it would be kind of hidden by the front of the parking lot side of the building, and it would just be more in between the two sections of the outlets.
I understand, Vice Commissioner or Vice Chairman. The belief here is that it's less intrusive facing the interior parking lot.
Okay. I just see it differently when I was driving around and looking, because to me, it's going to stand out a lot more where it's going in, than if it were in back. So that's just my sense.
Any additional?
That's all.
Okay. All right. I want to ask, this is like the second one in recent months we've seen of this nature in terms of the installations. Do you have an idea as to how many towers there are inventory-wise within the city at this time? Do we have a number?
I think that's something that staff would have to look into to give you an exact number.
Okay. And is this particular one, along with maybe the one we saw prior, is this considered a small cell like 5G technology, or is it older or 4G?
Commissioner, so Camarillo really doesn't have the capacity. The whole concept of 5G is really about densification, meaning that there's so many more cell phone users and electronics users, wireless users, that they need to increase the ability for things to get out of the airwaves and into the fiber optic systems. So they need more towers. In Camarillo, we aren't quite at that capacity yet where we really even need to go to small cells. So this is a macro tower because it's got 16. Small cells are going to end up usually being a small omnidirectional antenna, typically in the public right-of-way, and that's basically helping to fill kind of the gap. So these large ones are like an umbrella over the city, and then when we start getting to the densification that is needed in order to start getting a better signal, which we're not quite to that need in Camarillo yet, that's when we would start seeing more small cells. But right now, everything that's coming into Camarillo is macros to still kind of do the umbrella. And we actually just, to put things in perspective, we also will be having a number of, there's a new carrier out there that's also going to be bringing quite a few towers to the city as well. Because each individual carrier needs basically their own umbrellas over the city.
Okay, so it has miles range as opposed to just a couple of 100 feet. And
So a typical macro cell is still only going to be a radius of about 1,000 meter or 1,000 feet, which is why we have so many towers in the city of Camarillo.
Okay.
So like in this image, for instance, you see the water tower in Old Town, and then this one is at the outlets, and then the next one down is actually, I believe, the Quality Inn.
Okay.
And so that's about the distance that these towers go.
Okay. So that we're not there as far as any 5G infrastructure at this time within the city.
And 5G is just it's literally about densification.
Yeah.
And when they start getting into the small cells is when you're going to start seeing the technology that is the small waves, propagation waves that are typical of 5G. And those actually only carry about 100 feet to 150 feet and don't even penetrate walls. It's really just to get, when more and more capacity, when there's more and more users, the signal gets out of the air and onto fiber as quickly as possible, and that's what 5G is really all about, is just increasing the number of ways to get onto fiber.
Okay. All right. So I was just in sort of learning and teaching myself a little bit about these kinds of installations. I stumble across, reports of sort of the push to try and get to a 5G infrastructure on a broad level, and sounding that even Thousand Oaks has had a lot of question and answers to address of concerns of the public in terms of the exposure risks and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to find out if we're not talking about this at all with these kinds of most recent requests for wireless installations.
Yeah, no, we're not there yet in
Okay.
Camarillo. And ultimately, the FCC, through their reports and orders, have basically made it to where jurisdictions, they make the determination that the equipment and the signals are safe, and they set a threshold for what is safe. And basically, if they meet those thresholds, then the city can't really disapprove a project based on those thresholds, so long as they can show through the EME report that they are meeting the FCC's thresholds and guidelines.
Okay. So for this stealth, co-located type of installation here, is how does it work as far as the electrical supply, given how the building is currently, owned by a certain entity, individual, and for this being part of a network and infrastructure of wireless capacity, how does it work as far as the electrical? Is that somehow wired in separately so that it's not actually the building electrical that's
Yeah, so-
supplying it?
Yeah, so this facility will have its own electrical, pulled into its own panel and its own meter.
Okay.
And then it's also got battery backup, which is becoming more and more prevalent. In order for, in the event of power outages, it's got typically 72 hours of supply for power based on its battery backup. So that because a lot of these facilities are also almost the only means of emergency communications during natural disasters.
Okay. And then I had a question about the municipal code that addresses wireless for CUPs, these types of installations. Now, in one section, I saw that they're permitted in all zones, basically. But yet, there's a section that says that they're not permitted in residential properties where the primary use is residential occupancy. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so you would be able to maybe have them installed in a public right-of-way in a residential zone, but not necessarily on residential property?
Correct.
So, okay,
Right, so there would be, a small cell would be allowed in the public right-of-way in a residential zone, but they would not, so I can't go to my house and say, hey, cell tower, please come over and install a facility on my property, because it wouldn't be allowed.
okay,
So yeah, they're not going to be allowed in a residential zone.
okay.
Now, the residential zone, that residential is the primary use. So for instance, Kildee Park is an example where that is actually considered to be a residential zone, but there's already facilities at the park because its primary use is as a park, not as a residence.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that's all I have right now. Thank you for addressing those questions. And now we will go ahead and open up public comment, public hearing for this agenda item. If the applicant would like to address the Planning Commission?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jerry Ambrose. I'm here on behalf of AT&T. I don't have anything to add to staff's presentation. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay, see none?
No,
Oh, you do? Oh.
I'll go back and ask the same
Okay.
question then. Is there a reason that you couldn't put this tower on the back tower on that same building?
We haven't been out there. We designed this project about a year ago, and as I recollect, the tower in the back I thought was shorter because there was an issue with the engineer having this front tower blocking the signal if we were to locate on the back. There would be some kind of interruption of the signal because of the current structure that's there now.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking at them from the side, I can't remember. I know it's probably a little bit shorter, so they might have to go up another foot or something to make up that difference, but
It can.
there could be some interruption that way.
The height is pretty low, relatively speaking, for cell tower type sites. So I definitely recall that there would have been an obstruction if we were to locate on the other tower with the signal propagating across the current tower that we're proposing to locate on. And we also worked with staff in terms of what we felt was the best location for aesthetics and, to meld in with the center and better to be off the public street and in the outlets versus at the edge of the street. So
Yeah.
kind of a combination of those is how we came to.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with how it looks. I just, by itself, it just, from design work I've done in different things from other areas, things that I just have the symmetry issue. So, okay. That explained it a little bit better to me, though, as to why. Thank you.
I wanted, just thought of another question I had. If you, it might be for you or for staff, but if in the event there was, let's say, as a result of the installation, the construction, a roof leak, for example, and roofers had to go up on the roof to work on repairing a leak, would there be signage, warning signs, or would they have to shut down the operation of the cell service at that point, or how would that?
Yeah, there's sort of two
Play
parts
out.
of that. Yes, there is signage that is proposed in very specific locations on the structure, which is in the report that you would have. In terms of a roof leak, it would be sort of a decision between AT&T and the property owner as to whether or not the site should be shut down while the roofer is working out there. That does happen, and again, it's a coordination between AT&T and the property owner as to what's the best course of action for each individual particular situation.
Right. Okay, thank you for that.
Because I know it did seem to show, sorry, that there were so many feet coming out at that same level that could be danger. You know, if you were within.
At the roof level, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're there for an extended period of time or whatever, and AT&T has some internal policies, you know, about just making sure everybody knows what's there. So you'll see in the report, there's a lot of signage
Signs.
proposed at the roof level, which of course the public
Going to
should not
see.
be there.
Right,
It's only for the occupational
yeah,
exposure.
sorry.
Commissioner Tellers?
Mr. Ambrose, first off, thank you for being here tonight. You had mentioned in some of the comments about emergency connections and whatnot using of the cellular device. Are there any other users in this facility, or is it all just strictly cell phones, so that the emergency connections in the time of whatever the disaster may be, is it cell phones only, or are there other radio links that are included in this facility? For example, police or fire or anything else? Or is this just strictly cell phones?
So again, a couple of parts of that answer as well.
Okay.
The service is just for anyone who is on the AT&T network. So any device, any type of connection device that AT&T customers have, this project would serve. The project also has a 911 requirement, wherein anybody on any network, if they dial 911, this site would provide that service, the 911 service. Also, I guess there's three parts. AT&T is the sole provider of what's something called FirstNet, Band 14, which is a dedicated first responders frequency that only first responders can use during natural disasters, man-made, any type of disaster where you have police, fire, county, city, federal, state. They can all join in on this one frequency, and AT&T is the sole provider of that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Luis.
Okay, Commissioner Hitzel.
Is, once these are installed, is there a regular maintenance route that you guys have to do to maintain the equipment, or what's involved?
Pretty minimal, yeah. They say about once every 2 months, someone physically to go out there. So, 5 or 6 times a year. A lot of it is controlled remotely. They monitor it remotely. Like if something's not working right or something, they'll be notified.
Do they go up and inspect the site, though, to see if there's, debris
Yeah,
debris
yes.
in the way?
Yeah, they'll go up
or
the ladder
mess?
and go
Yeah.
and check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, 5 or 6 times a year, probably.
Okay. And that's AT&T that does that?
Correct.
Okay.
Or their consultants that they hire to go do that.
Okay. Thank
It's
you.
all under AT&T's control, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's all for the question. Thank you so much for your input. Well, just so that I do not forget. Okay. No, we're not there yet. I want to get a report from the Architectural Review Committee. That'll be Commissioner Edsel.
Yeah, we met earlier in the, to view the project from an architectural standpoint, and we felt that it blended it well. The exact same materials are going to be used, and I think once it's done, you're not going to be able to tell that it was put on later, not at the beginning of the project. And so we approved it on that basis. Thought it was well designed.
Very good. Thank you for that report. And so we have no speaker cards, public comment on this at this time. So we will go ahead and close the public hearing on this item. Okay, so we're at the point where we want to entertain a reading of the resolution.
Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Camarillo approving a request for a conditional use permit for AT&T Mobility for the construction of a stealth wireless facility communications and increase in height to 53 feet, located at 690 Ventura Boulevard in the Commercial Plan Development CPD Zone, further described as CUP 413.
I'll make a motion to waive further reading and vote for adoption.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Edsel, seconded by Commissioner Talmadge. Any discussion? Please vote. Okay, that passes 4-0. Thank you for that. With that, we will move on to Director's Report.
So thank you, Chairman Espinoza. The only item I have to report back on is we have our next regular scheduled meeting June 5th. However, we do not anticipate any items on that meeting. So right now it is clear. So the next meeting that we have items scheduled for would be the July 19th.
July 19, okay. Any additional?
No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Okay, I do have a couple of requests, I guess, or questions. We've previously, prior to the pandemic, of course, had done the tours of existing projects. And is there any thought about doing that?
Yes, we actually are talking about that now and scheduling for sometime this summer. Probably we're shooting we're thinking like August or September.
Okay.
So, but we haven't finalized anything yet. So we're kind of, we're just now starting to talk about it. We want to do it. So if we're allowed to, we will.
Okay,
Are
yeah.
you talking about a tour?
Right.
Yeah, those are always valuable.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be great if we can get there. And I also wanted to ask, I still maintain maps of general plan, zoning maps, and so forth. And I'm not sure whether they're the most recent copies or not. Is that something that can be provided if I call the office, if there is something updated that I don't have in hand?
Yes, we can. I'd be happy to look at the maps, make sure it's the most updated one.
Okay.
If not, we can get you a copy.
All right. Great, appreciate that. Okay, and no additional comments? With that, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.